So I had about, I don't know, I think 45-minute lunch break because I said it was almost 11:45 and it is 12:30. Yep, 12:29 to be exact. Finished the Let Them series by Pastor Mike and it blessed me. I had a rough day on Sunday. Really kind of rough and just some revelations. And so this series just really, really blessed me. And yesterday, I told you that I was ready to go. I was still in like fight mode and ready to just, and for what? For what? It wasn't going to solve anything. In fact, it was probably going to only make me worse. And so I'm glad that I first tried to put on some gospel music, but my spirit still wasn't calmed. And I couldn't even, sometimes you get to the point, you can't even pray. And my girlfriend sent me that text message and it was a prayer and it was an audio prayer. So I heard the person praying out loud. And then she sent me this series. I will definitely be tuning in because Pastor Mike breaks it down in a practical way. He's a young pastor, I think just like 42. A lot of times we're struggling and we're looking to try to seek understanding. We want to be understood. And sometimes you just have to let them misunderstand, let them go, because who you're becoming may not be aligned. Their presence might not be in they can't have access to who you're becoming. And that is so true. And a lot of times I feel like people put labels on. You have a husband, you have a mother, a father, and we give these people these labels. And with those labels come expectations. And we expect them to live up to our expectations or think, this is what I envision a mother to be. This is how you should be. And when they don't meet those expectations, we feel, disappointed. We feel robbed. We feel cheated. We feel all of the things but good, maybe. And we have to stop that. But we also have to, realize everybody, no matter who they are, no matter what the label is, if they aren't treating you a certain way, you have a responsibility to teach them. And you also have you have permission to walk. You don't have to stay and be somewhere and be mistreated just because this person has the label of mother, father, brother, sister, child. I am not an advocate for that. And that's been something that I have always just kind of walked to the beat of my own drum. I don't need to be in the group. I don't need to follow the group. I go my own way. And I am finally, I think, really living it and saying it out loud. I don't know the direction that God has for me. In part 3, Pastor Mike talked about how we're all upset because we have these goals that aren't God's goals. We haven't consulted with him. We just came up with an idea. And he even talks about how we have, we get a thought, man, I can't stand this job. And you think it, and then you say it, and now you've put it out there. And then because the phones are listening, then you see something on Instagram talking about a career change or, whatever. And you're like, wow, it's speaking to me. And so I've shared with you guys that I've felt stuck for the last, 3 years. Do I go corporate? Do I go entrepreneurial? And it's been the most uncomfortable, challenging time. Relationships have changed, and some have changed for the better. Others, it may feel like it's not the better, like it's changed for the worse. And you have to You have to decide, because the notes that I took at the end when I was taking my my lunch break, these were the three things that Pastor Mike talked about. Was Jesus didn't fight to win arguments. And so the point was, let them lose. And that's access to you. You don't have to fight to prove your truth or to help them understand you. Let them be. Because your truth, the truth will come out. It will be what it is. And then it says that sometimes the greatest discipline God uses is distance. You're so caught up in trying to be in this circle or included. And I'm speaking from experience, because my feelings have been hurt. My family has intentionally excluded me from things. And it's been very hurtful, especially when you live in an area where you aren't from and you only have a small set of family. It has been devastating. But you know what? Let them. Because I'm tired of running and trying to be like, hey, you gonna let me in? You gonna let me in? There's that access, that distance. Let them. God is using me and I'm becoming something I don't know what. So then Pastor Mike says, everyone can't have access to who you're becoming. Then the second point, let them learn. Some people need experience. They say you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Sometimes it's a bought lesson, for real, and you've spent money on learning it because you were too hard-headed to listen to maybe other people's advice. And that's the thing. Life is the best teacher. It gives us the best experience. And another point, truth doesn't need immediate agreement. What I was saying a second ago. The truth will come to light. The truth always comes to light. And so his third point, let them leave. Let them leave. If it's meant, it will come back. But maybe God is clearing that path for you and moving you and protecting you from things. And, you're so busy like, I want to be, because in my situation, they have labels, family. And so you want to be with your family, but family can do you the dirtiest. And I swear I've said this and I will say it again. If they didn't have that label family, would you tolerate certain behaviors, certain mistreatments? Would you? No, you'd be like, kick rocks, deuces, I'm out. I'm not tolerating this. So why then do we allow it? Because they have this label and they have access to us. Let them leave. And he says, letting them leave is not bitterness. It's obedience without attachment. Letting them leave is not bitterness. It is obedience without attachment. He says sometimes God doesn't remove them. He repositions them. This is people in your life. He said also, be prepared to have some relationships where you were like, I didn't ever think we would stop speaking. And then to also be prepared to have relationships where you're like, I never expected to be cool with you like this or close to you like this. Because God will shift people the way that he needs in your life so that, he's going to get the glory. And he says, God often clears the path by clearing people. So I started thinking, I'm like, and I said this yesterday to my friend before I even watched part 2 or part 3. I had to ask myself, if this behavior was happening when I thought that me and my sister were, best friends and on good terms, if she was not inviting me into her circles and things and, and I let her know how it made me feel, why am I still running up after and trying to be in that? And again, it's because we think, oh, this person has this title, family over everything. That is not always the case. Not at all. You would love that family had your back. You would love that family looked out for you. But sometimes, again, it's the person that you least expected. The person who you do expect and think and want and feel like you need to be there for you may not show up. And it can be hard to deal with. And so the last point he says is, it's your responsibility to keep moving. And so, keep going, keep growing into who God has, is who you're becoming, who he's preparing you to become. And so this whole series just really, really blessed me. And it's given me comfort, when I already had spoken to my husband and made a decision like how I'm going to handle this situation moving forward. It has given me comfort. It's given me the reassurance that I am making the right decision. Your presence is a gift. If people don't want it, don't force it, because that may not be where God wants you to be. And so God is going to open doors. He's going to clear paths. He's going to do things that you could have never imagined, but you can't fight it and you can't force it. You just have to be and stay in tune with him and walk behind him, follow his lead, because wherever he leads you, it is going to be better than you can imagine. And this is so wild. I was just popping in to say, hey, y'all, it's 12:30 and I'm back and I'm about to groom Milo. But I had to share with you the lessons that I learned in watching this series on YouTube. And so I thank God for my friends, the ones that I, don't always talk to on a regular basis, who God will just step in and show up and provide everything that I need without even having to ask. Just like yesterday, I needed prayer and I got a prayer sent to me in a text, an audio, a verbal prayer. And then this series, and talk about an on-time God. So I don't know if I'm going to wrap this up, because no, the video was supposed to be about Milo. And this one is already a 13-minute video that I've been talking about Pastor Mike. So I'm going to figure out how to edit this so that we can continue with the grooming. But it is 12:45, so I've been off for an hour, ate my lunch, I'm about to get back, groom Milo, but I had church, so I'm on cloud 9 right now. So let's see how this is going to be. Milo's a little bit bigger than Mocha, but I'm here for it. So I'll check back in with y'all in a bit. Where's your face? Well, we did it. It's 2:30, 2:29 to be exact. And Milo Biggins is finished. Yay. You smiling? Here he is. Look at you, handsome. He said, Bobby, now to get all this hair off of me, but hey, it's done. All in one day. Look at God. Yes. All right, that's all. I hope y'all have a great afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this. And if you're not having a good day, remember that tomorrow is always a new day. So thank you for watching.